Before the gods of Olympus, before mankind, before even the sun brought light to the world, something already existed. An ancient presence, silent, immense, a living darkness that the Greeks called Nyx, the goddess of the night. But beware, Nyx was not simply a divinity associated with sunset. She was the night itself, a primordial force, a power so ancient that even Zeus, the king of the gods, refused to stand against her. And today, in Chronicles of Shadows, we will dive into the forgotten history of this terrifying entity, the Mother of Darkness. In the Theogony, the poet Hesiod describes her as one of the first forces of the universe, a primordial divinity born directly from chaos, long before the great figures of Olympus, before Zeus, before Poseidon, before Athena. At that time, the world had neither order nor boundaries. There were no kingdoms yet, no sun to illuminate the heavens, no civilization to push back the darkness. Only cosmic forces floating in a still savage universe. And among these ancient powers stood Nyx, alongside Gaia, the living earth, and Eros, the energy of desire and creation. But unlike other divinities, Nyx inspired something deeper than mere respect. She inspired fear. Because in ancient times, the night was not synonymous with calm or rest. The night was unknown territory, a realm where the boundaries between the living and the dead seemed to disappear, where monsters, spirits, and nightmares took shape in the darkness. And at the heart of these shadows, Nyx reigned. Nyx was not a goddess who brought light. She did not give birth to radiant heroes, nor to benevolent divinities. No, in the depths of Greek mythology, Nyx birthed something far more ancient and far more terrifying. She gave birth to forces, to concepts, to powers capable of influencing the destiny of gods as well as men. The tales recount that she alone gave birth to some of the most dreaded entities of all mythology. Among them was Thanatos, the personification of death, not a monstrous creature, not a demon, but death itself, cold, inevitable, silent. By her side came Hypnos, the god of sleep, a mysterious force capable of plunging both humans and gods into unconsciousness. For the Greeks, sleep was already a form of passage into the unknown, almost a frontier between life and death. But Nyx also gave birth to Nemesis, the goddess of divine vengeance, she who consumed those passed by pride, excess, or the thirst for power. Even kings, even gods could face her judgment. And the deeper the ancient tales go, the more unsettling the children of Nyx become. The Moirai, who wove the fate of mortals, the Caries, spirits of violent death and carnage, and other entities bound to suffering, fear, deception, and chaos. As if the Greeks had imagined that everything humanity could not control, death, fear, fate, darkness, was born from a single and same presence, Nyx. The ancient myths tell that Nyx did not live on Olympus, among the gods bathed in light. Her realm lay far beyond, far below, in the depths of Tartarus, a place so ancient, so dark that it existed beyond even the underworld, a forgotten abyss where light never penetrated, where silence seemed eternal, where even the gods hesitated to venture. There, at the heart of this infinite darkness, dwelt Nyx, and each night she would leave her realm. The Greeks then imagined an almost unreal vision, the goddess traversing the sky in an immense black chariot drawn by dark horses with burning eyes. At her passage, the world changed. The sun disappeared. Shadows spread, and stars slowly appeared above the mortals, because behind Nyx came the night itself. Meanwhile, Helios, the sun god, finished his race across the sky before yielding his place to darkness. Thus, for the ancient Greeks, day and night formed an eternal cycle, a silent struggle that began anew endlessly since the world's birth. But behind this almost poetic image lay something more unsettling. Nyx was not simply one goddess among others. Certain ancient cults considered her a power far more ancient than the gods of Olympus themselves, a primordial force that existed before the world's order, before the kingdoms, before divine law, before Zeus. As if at the beginning of all things, it was not light that dominated the universe, but darkness. Nyx.
In ancient Greek tales, few divinities inspired fear in Zeus. The master of Olympus reigned over gods and men. His wrath made the heavens tremble, and his thunderbolts could annihilate anyone who dared defy him. Yet, even he knew fear, and that fear had a name: Nyx. In Homer's Iliad, an episode reveals just how much the goddess of night was dreaded. One day, Hypnos, the god of sleep, succeeded in plunging Zeus into a deep slumber. For a moment, the sovereign of Olympus lost all control, but when he awoke, his rage was terrible. Zeus immediately sought to find Hypnos to punish him. The myths tell that he was ready to hurl him into the depths of the sea for daring to act against him. Then Hypnos became afraid. He fled across the world until he reached a place where even Zeus would hesitate to follow. He took refuge with his mother, Nyx. And that is when everything changed. For despite his immense rage, Zeus stopped. He gave up pursuing Hypnos, not from weakness, not from pity, but because he refused to provoke the wrath of the goddess of night. Imagine that for a moment, the god of thunder, the king of the gods, fearing another power. This passage shows that Nyx was not a simple divinity of darkness. She was far more ancient than the Olympians, a primordial force bound to the very balance of the universe, a presence so ancient, so fundamental, that even Zeus preferred to remain in her shadow. Strangely, despite her immense power in Greek mythology, Nyx remains almost absent from antiquity's visual history. Unlike Athena, Apollo, or Zeus, she had no great famous temples, no monumental statues visible in all Greek cities. Depictions of the goddess are rare, very rare, as if the ancient Greeks had deliberately avoided giving her a precise form. And perhaps this silence says more about Nyx than any myth could. For certain forces are too ancient, too mysterious to be confined within an image. When she appeared in ancient art, Nyx was often depicted as an elegant and unsettling silhouette at once. A goddess draped in long, flowing black robes, sometimes covered with glittering stars. Other accounts describe her with immense dark wings unfurled behind her, as if she enveloped the entire sky in her shadow. But even in these representations, her appearance remains blurred, almost unreal. Not quite human, not entirely divine either, like a living piece of the night itself. And perhaps that is what makes Nyx so fascinating today. Unlike other Greek gods, she does not possess a clearly defined face in our collective imagination. She remains a vague presence, elusive, impossible to fully capture. Because you can represent war, you can represent the sun, even death can take a form, but the night, it always escapes. You cannot really look it in the face, you can only enter into it and hope to come back out.
Unlike the great divinities of Olympus, such as Athena or Apollo, Nyx did not possess vast marble temples visible at the heart of Greek cities. There were almost no grand ceremonies organized in her honor, no crowds gathered to celebrate the goddess of night. Her worship was different, more discreet, more silent, almost secret. Nyx was often venerated through other religious rites, in ceremonies linked to mysteries, invisible forces, and the powers of the underworld. For the ancient Greeks, certain divinities were not meant to be honored in broad daylight. They belonged to the shadow, and Nyx was among these ancient presences that one respected with caution. In certain spiritual currents of antiquity, notably the Orphic traditions inspired by the teachings of Orpheus, Nyx even occupied a central place. Certain beliefs described her as a primordial mother goddess, a cosmic entity present before the gods of Olympus themselves, before divine law, before the heavenly kingdoms, before the world took its current form, as if all creation was born in darkness before encountering light. The ancient Greek traveler Pausanias, moreover, reports having discovered an ancient representation of Nyx, holding in her arms two of her most famous children, Hypnos and Thanatos, sleep and death, two twin forces, two passages into the unknown, and at the center of this image, the night, as if the ancient Greeks had understood one essential thing. In darkness, sleep and death always walk side by side. Even after thousands of years, Nyx never completely vanished. Her name still travels through our time, hidden in modern stories, fantastic works, and dark universes that continue to fascinate millions. Because certain mythological figures never truly die. They evolve, they change faces, but they remain present in human imagination. And Nyx is among these ancient powers that continue to live in the shadows. We find her influence in modern works like Persona 3, where her image is associated with the end of the world and forces beyond humanity. She appears too in Hades, directly inspired by Greek myths, where she maintains her mysterious and almost cosmic aura. Even the Marvel Universe drew inspiration from her, representing her as a living incarnation of the night, an ancient entity bound to the primordial darkness of the universe. But if Nyx continues to appear in so many works, it is probably no accident, because the night has always exerted a strange fascination over humanity. Since ancient times, darkness has been associated with mystery, the unknown, and everything mankind cannot control. When light disappears, imagination takes over. The night hides our fears, our nightmares, our deepest secrets. It transforms shadows into creatures, silence into threat, and sometimes it reveals truths that daylight prefers to conceal. Perhaps this is why Nyx continues to fascinate us even today, because in the end, the night has never left humanity. Nyx remains today one of the most mysterious divinities of all Greek mythology, a goddess almost forgotten, yet whose shadow still crosses the centuries. She was there before the gods, before the kingdoms, before the light. And in the ancient tales, even Zeus refused to provoke her wrath. So the next time night falls, ask yourself this question: what if the darkness was not empty? What if something was still watching from the shadows? Because in Chronicles of Shadows, myths never truly die. They simply wait in the darkness.